Yeah, let's do that, David. That really adds a lot to it right there.
I put the mic on. I put the headset on.
Yeah, while you're rattling around, that's funny. All right, let's see here.
Am I still
You're not rattling as much anymore.
not
no?
rattling?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, this is tough stuff right here. The way you grade the paper.
It is tough. Boy, if you could get over 500 for the year in that, that's good. Don't you think?
I'm all right.
That's a tough one. Of course, David's over here making it look like child's play.
Yeah. David's got an early lead.
That's how David rolls.
The key word is early.
Yeah. Somebody's in front and somebody's in the last. And
Some
see who
days
those
a
are.
diamond, some days a stone.
That's
What can I
right.
tell you?
Some days you're done.
Thank goodness Van pulled it out, or I'd have been skunked this week.
Let's see.
I got a lot of the winners right. I just got the point total wrong.
All right, just so y'all know, the people could be tuning in and listening right now.
Okay.
So y'all, that's okay.
Well, they need to play along.
That's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I'm just,
So anybody that is listening, or if you want to rewind to this part,
Then
at the end of the show, we give the local teams and their opponent with an over-under. And if you pick the over-under correct, and then you pick the winner based on the line, or at least tie that, you win that whole game.
all right, guys, hold up just a second.
I'm actually explaining this, so I'll know.
I know, but you're splaining over the top of people talking right now.
splaining.
Don't be doing no splaining. Let's see if our spleen. Oh, I think our spleen is splaining. All right. Hey, tonight's Huddle Show is brought to you by the Elliott Law Firm, because we are in the counselor's office. You know, it's always good to get good counseling, and that's what we're here for, because some people were going to need it after last week's plays there. Tonight we're brought to you by Art Printing of Texas, 680 West Dallas, number 2 in Canton, 903-567-0303. You can go to artprintingoftex.com. That's tx.com.
They're awesome.
Secondly, we're also brought to you by the gloriousness of the food that we just had, the greatness from 3D's Pizza. And if you go to our Facebook page, you'll actually see the food, the glorious wings and stuff. You guys are now on. They can see you. So that's good. Everybody wave hi. All right. Having said that, I will turn it over to the Godfather, not the Dogfather. Dyslexia. I got a little backwards there.
Ken, thank you very much. I'm David Barber, Van Zant News sports correspondent, joined by T.A. Hale from the Buzz Brothers, the counselor, Joel Elliott. You have already heard the voice of Ken, engineer Ken,
Choo-choo.
and our Canton Herald sports correspondent, Ethan, is back with us tonight. We didn't scare him off last week, guys. He's back.
I'm back.
Easy E.
That's
Our
right.
man.
That's right. Okay, well, we've got week 1 of the 2022 high school football season in the books. Kind of had a split decision there. We had 3 county teams that won Friday night. We had 3 that lost. So they'll be looking for their first wins this week. But I'll tell you what, which direction do you want to go first? Should we talk about those Edgewood Bulldogs?
I think so.
Big win for them on the road Friday night.
Is a big win. Is a really nice maybe statement for the first game of the year. Coach Gare and the Bulldogs went to Commerce and got a victory 41-14 over the Commerce Tigers. Commerce was thought to be a much improved team this year. That was the feeling that the Bulldog staff had, and so they were a little bit bigger up front on the offensive and defensive line than they originally thought. It kind of turned into a slugfest there in the very beginning. The score at halftime was 14-7, so not as much offense going on there. The Bulldogs, actually the Tigers scored first. Bulldogs scored twice before half. And so it was kind of a defensive battle there for a while. You know, we talked about the strength of the Bulldogs being what? The offensive line and defensive line. Big, strong guys, could control the line of scrimmage, etc. And that's exactly what happened. And I want to say a thank you to Paul Cates and Eric James, our friends from Edgewood Bulldog Radio. They're so great to give me information. So I'm getting this from them, who they were there obviously. They said as the game went on, you could just kind of tell that the Bulldogs were starting to impose their will, so to speak, on the Tigers. And sure enough, things broke open in the second half. So your final on that, 41-14. The only offensive score the Tigers had was in the first half. Their second score came on a kickoff return for a touchdown. So the Bulldog defense did a great job. Gave up one touchdown, and so that's got to make Coach Guerra feel really, really good about things. This is an athletic Commerce team, no doubt about it. Thought to be explosive on the offensive side, and so that's just a great job by the Bulldogs. Also, from what I understand, the Bulldogs were in better shape, and that had an effect as the game went on. You know, it's warm outside. We're still in the late summer months here. It's warm out there, and the team that's in better shape has got a clear advantage in the second half. So, just a few stats here. Hayden Wilcoxon, and we've been calling his name for 3 years now. Hayden, he was 12 of 7 passing, 12 of 17, 148 yards, 4 touchdowns, just 1 INT. Also, another thank you, y'all. Coach Jason Seal, the offensive coordinator for the Bulldogs and athletic director, he's always so gracious to send me stats every Monday morning. You know, those guys have got a lot going on. They are busy. The last thing they have time for is to deal with a radio guy. But every Monday morning he sends me stats, and it helps so much. So thank you, Coach. Wilcoxon also ran 9 times for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. Talked about Tim Carroll, the running back, move in from Wills Point. He had a big night on the ground. 17 rushes, 112 yards. So a welcome addition there to the Bulldogs offense. Receiving, Brady Bannister had a big night also. 7 receptions, 85 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's either a sophomore or a junior. I should have checked that. But that's a very productive night for Mr. Bannister there. So good job there for him. As a team, they ran for 338 yards, passed for 148 yards. Total offense was 486 yards. So a good night of offense for the Bulldogs. So 1-0. Now back to I.T. James Memorial Stadium on Friday night against the Raines Wildcats. And from what I'm understanding, Raines did struggle some last year. They were 2-7 last year, but thought to be much improved this year. They beat Lone Oak 24-14 on Friday. Coach Charlie Coker is doing a great job with those kids. My understanding is they play hard for him. The report from Edgewood is that they expect this to be a really, really physical game. They think this team is better coached than Commerce was. And kind of an interesting element to this whole thing is, you know, Edgewood and Raines, they're in the same district in the other sports, in basketball and in the other sports, the non-football sports. So the kids know each other. And so there's some familiarity there, a little bit of a rivalry actually is what I'm told. So they expect this to be a really intense game and a tougher one than last week. So the Bulldogs are going to be taking nothing for granted here, and so should be a good game on Friday night at I.T. James Memorial, their home opener. And so good luck to Coach Guerra and the Bulldogs, and we wish them the very, very best.
What an encouraging start, though, for them, because usually their games with Commerce have been coming down to the wire, but not this time around.
And that's kind of what I expected to happen, really. They've normally been shootouts, just real barn burners. But Edgewood got over there and got a comfortable lead and came on home feeling good about themselves.
Good for them.
That's right. So good job to the Edgewood Bulldogs.
All right. Let's take our first break. We want to thank all of our sponsors that sponsor the Huddle Show each week. And first, we want to recognize Down Home Cafe, daily breakfast and lunch specials, breakfast available anytime, located at 400 West Highway 243, Canton, 903-567-7601. We're brought to you by Exit Realty Pro at 1445 South Buffalo in Canton, 903-567-7777. We're brought to you by Goode Service Station. We sell service at Goode Service Station. Cooper Tires, state inspections, oil changes, mechanic work, computerized four-wheel alignment, storage buildings. 903-963-7848, located at 172 East Main in Van. We're brought to you by Dean Kubota. With 2 locations, Wills Point is 903-873-2451, and Forney is 972-552-3151. And we're brought to you by the Dwayne Wheeler Insurance Agency, Auto, Home, Life, Business, Farm and Ranch. They're located at 121 West Main in Van, 903-963-8887. They also have a location in Quinlan at 9011 State Highway 34 South, 903-226-6000. We're back on the Huddle Show, and we need to go to Engineer Ken for an announcement.
And for all your Cinnabon needs, remember 3D's Pizza and Wings. You wouldn't think that, but if you look on the screen right now, you'll see the Cinnabons. They're there.
People have Cinnabon needs.
Yes, I mean, it is a real thing.
It's a thing.
It is a thing. I mean, there was a whole lot more there than there is now. And we also want to reach out and tell you about Art Printing, full-service print and copy shop right here in Canton, serving East Texas near and far. For all your printing needs, custom invitations, T-shirts, hats, business cards, invoices, mail-outs, letterhead, banners, aluminum. I mean, I'm not sure what that means.
What'd you say?
Aluminum.
Okay.
Yeah. Some people call it
concur.
aluminum. I disagree. I call it aluminum. Anyway, all right. Take it back away there, Godfather.
All right. David Barber, Van Zandt News sports correspondent, joined by T.A. Hale from the Buzz Brothers, the counselor Joel Elliott, our Canton Herald sports correspondent Ethan Adams joining us tonight, as well as engineer Ken. Gentlemen, if it's all right, let's move on to the Van Vandals.
Mm-hmm.
They had a big road win Friday night down at Longview Pine Tree Pirate Stadium, taking on the Class 5A Pine Tree Pirates. And, Joel, I think your dad and Mal Fowler would have enjoyed this kind of game that Van played Friday night. Van ran the ball 53 times and passed the ball 7 times. And that's out of the spread offense. And I know that
You had me until you said spread.
You go with what's working.
Hey, I know that TA and I have had this conversation before, but this misconception about you can't have an effective running game out of the spread formation, anybody who believes that needs to watch a videotape of the Van Pine Tree game the other night, because it was methodical, it was consistent ball control. The longest run from scrimmage Van had Friday night was 15 yards. The longest pass play they had was 28 yards. But they just controlled the clock. 3 yards here, 4 yards there, 5 yards here. I mean, it was just a very
time
impressive.
of possession.
Time
Must
of
have been
possession
strong.
was definitely strong in Van's favor. Van defeated Pine Tree 28-14. Van finished with 21 first downs, 292 yards of total offense, including 227 yards rushing on those 53 carries, and 65 yards passing. They held Pine Tree 7 first downs, 198 total yards. And out of that 198 total yards, 2 big plays. They had a 70-yard touchdown pass play in the second quarter, and then the quarterback got away from them once and scrambled for 56 yards. So you take away those 2 plays, I mean, Pine Tree almost had nothing.
That final score was deceptive.
Yes, it was. It was.
7 first downs, and they got 2 touchdowns out of that?
Yeah,
That's unheard of.
Yeah. So the Vandals really did a great job the other night controlling the clock. They pretty much had a 3-headed monster at running back the other night. Garrett Flory, 18 carries, 97 yards, and 3 touchdowns rushing. And DeMarcus Stennett, 24 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown. And then Braden Bradshaw. We think of Braden Bradshaw as a receiver. Yes, he caught 3 passes for 61 yards, but he also carried the ball 6 times for 27 yards. They're finding different ways to get Bradshaw touches on offense. So he's lining up a number of different ways, and they're finding ways to get the ball to him. probably would have had more yards on one of those pass receptions, except he had a collision with the umpire right in the middle of the field. Caught a pass right over the middle, turned to go upfield, probably would have gone another 20 or 30 yards, but the umpire got in his way, and they both went down.
He's some pine tree probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, neither man was hurt. So, but at Jackson Moffitt, Coach Moffitt's son, making his first start, sophomore quarterback, 4 out of 7, 65 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Didn't make the big mistake, no spectacular plays, just ran the offense.
Efficient.
And he was efficient. And but I mentioned on defense the performance of Bo Barton. Let me tell you what he did the other night. All he did was 9 tackles, 2 tackles for losses, 3 quarterback sacks, blocked a field goal and recovered it on the final play of the first half, and had 5 batted passes, pass breakups.
5.
5.
Wow.
He was all
busy.
over the place. But good win for the Vandals on the road. And by the way, in case y'all were wondering, we did break out the Rhino formation.
Okay.
On 4th down and goal at the 1-yard line, Garrett Flory took the direct snap from center and powered into the end zone on a 1-yard touchdown run. So
the Rhino formation.
The Rhino formation is 1 for 1.
Now tell me about Garrett Flory. I'm not familiar with that name.
Garrett Flory. Well, he's a senior this year.
Okay.
He's a 3-year starter on the varsity, but primarily on defense.
Okay.
He's played that bandit or rover position in the defensive backfield, but the other night they used him quite a bit in the backfield, and we'll see what happens going forward. DeMarcus Stennett, he played a little bit on varsity last year, but this is his first year to start. He's a junior. And, of course, Bradshaw is a senior. But Van started overall 5 sophomores Friday night. And I asked Coach Moffitt how he would assess their performance, and he said sophomores, some good stuff, and, some stuff they'll need to work on. But I think he was encouraged by the way they played overall the other night, and he was definitely encouraged by the way the whole team played.
And they didn't turn the ball over?
They had 1 turnover in the 4th quarter,
Okay.
late in the game, really, when the game was already decided.
Okay.
But good performance by the Vandals. But now the competition gets a little bit tougher this week. The Chapel Hill Bulldogs come to Van Memorial Stadium, home opener for the Vandals. And, of course, all Chapel Hill did last year was come within just a few seconds of advancing to the state championship game. And what do they have coming back? How about 10 offensive starters from that team that are back?
Wow.
And but they had a little bit of an issue over playing Gilmer. They played at home against Gilmer the other night. Chapel Hill suffered 8 turnovers against Gilmer.
Whoa.
The amazing thing Coach Moffitt told me is that after the 3rd quarter was over, Chapel Hill had 6 turnovers. They were only down by 10 points.
Okay, that explains a lot to me then. I look at that game totally differently now.
Yeah.
Okay.
As Coach Moffitt told me the other day, he says if you knew nothing about the game and you saw the final score, you probably come up with 2 immediate assumptions: that Gilmer's good, and that secondly, you might think Chapel Hill's not very good. But then you look at 8 turnovers. 3 of those turnovers were inside Chapel Hill's own 20-yard line. And
that explains a lot.
Yes. So a tremendous offensive football team when they're not turning the ball over.
It was just a 2-touchdown loss.
Well, actually, it was 51-27. They lost by 24.
Okay, 24. Okay.
But they were only down by 10 at the end of the 3rd quarter with 6 turnovers.
Interesting.
But Chapel Hill has got weapons all over the field. Coach Moffitt thinks that this may be the best group of skilled players that they'll see all season long.
Wow.
They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. They've got speed everywhere. They can take any 3-yard pass and turn it into a 90-yard touchdown. They can score from anywhere on the field. And, Coach Moffitt said defensively, the big thing Friday night is they must tackle well. If you miss a tackle on these guys, they're gone.
Yeah.
And, of course, you like to think, well, wouldn't it be nice if they turned the ball over 8 times again this week? But
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's expecting that to happen. I would imagine the practices at Chapel Hill this week have been pretty intense.
There'll be some kids carrying balls around the school this week.
People trying to knock them out of their hands.
Yeah. So this is a great challenge. I think Chapel Hill was picked 2nd or 3rd in Division I 4A before the season started. Great football team coming in, and tremendous challenge for these sophomores, for the Vandals, and the entire team. And I'm anxious to see how they respond. After a big win on the road, they're going to come home. There's going to be a big crowd Friday night.
Oh, man, yes.
And it's going to be a tremendous high school football atmosphere at Van Memorial Stadium Friday night. And I'm anxious to see how the Vandals respond to this challenge.
The Vandal Nation will come out and support their Vandals now.
Yes, they will. They were in strong force in Longview the other night. In fact, somebody on the sideline, I think it was one of the members of the chain gang, he said, "Wow, I think y'all got us outnumbered tonight." So, look,
home opener,
7:30 Friday night. It's going to be fun.
Yes.
All right. Do we need to go to another break? Another break. Okay. We're going to recognize some more of our sponsors. And Tim James Insurance Agency, Home, Auto, Business, and Farm at 548 West Highway 243 in Canton, 903-567-0627. Legacy Dental Group, Family Dentistry, Cosmetic Dentistry, Oral Surgery, Orthodontics, Sedation Dentistry, 240 East Highway 243 in Canton, 903-508-2923. And we're brought to you by the Rick John State Farm Insurance Agency at 100 North 4th Street in Wills Point, Auto, Home, Life, and Health. We're brought to you by Ricky G's Auto Repair. Check with us for all your auto repair needs. 903-963-1540, 215 Quail Street in Van. We're also brought to you by M Squared Management, Property Management Company at 1435 South Buffalo Street in Canton, 903-502-0202. Brought to you by Craft 64 Burgers and Sports, 30176 State Highway 64 in Canton. And we're brought to you by Robertson Electric Commercial and Residential Air Conditioning and Heating Service. Free estimates. 2 locations. Wills Point is 903-873-2461. Terrell 972-563-5254. Nothing from the engineer at this point. Okay. Well, I'm David Barber, Van Zant News sports correspondent, joined by T.A. Hale from the Buzz Brothers, the counselor Joel Elliott, Canton Herald sports correspondent Ethan Adams, along with engineer Ken. And we've been talking about this before we came on air tonight. We need to talk about that Canton-Mineola game, and what a great win for Coach Regal in his debut as the Canton Eagles head coach. Take it away, guys.
You are exactly right, David. That was, to me, that was one of the more special wins in Canton football in a few years. It wasn't a playoff game. It didn't have any implications on anyone advancing or whatnot, but it was a special win for other reasons, because of everyone knows Coach Regal's his relationship with the people in Mineola. This morning I talked to him and I asked him that. I said, where does this win rank in your all-time wins? He's been coaching for 15 years or whatever. And he said top 2 or 3, maybe more. But it was a bitter, I guess, a mix of emotions for him. He's been coaching there in Mineola for 4 years. He's invested heavily in those kids. That doesn't go away overnight. So, as it was just a mix of emotions for him. Obviously, as the Eagles won, he was full of joy. And then at the same time, he saw these kids that he's been coaching all this time, tears in their eyes, and the heartbreak. And so it was just he said it was just a really interesting night. Some of his best friends are on the opposite sideline. And so I tell you, it was a great night for the Eagles. This kind of win, it can go a long way toward validating the message that you've been preaching to those kids since two-a-day started. 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, let's face it, they don't know a lot. Okay, let's just be honest. That was a delayed response in my group there. So this kind of validation or whatever, it really can go a long way. And just the confidence that I saw in them as the game went on, you could see them getting more and more confident. You know, what's funny, the first drive of the game might have been the most significant. And you know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Menial gets the ball, drives it down, give it to Pendergrass 7 times in a row. They get down to the 3-yard line, and as he's going into the end zone, we force a fumble and recover it.
They couldn't stop him on that drive.
No,
He was getting anything he wanted, and and that turnover was huge.
It was huge, and even though the Eagles did not score on the subsequent drive, it still stabilized things. We were able to punt it and play defense again, and Mineola did score first, but that could have snowballed fast had they gotten in there. So a lot of big plays were made, and we'll talk about that. You can't say enough about what Shaw did. Cam Shaw was just amazing.
Incredible.
I mean, just for everything that we thought he was more than that on Friday night. We'll talk some more about that. I thought Coach Regal did a great coaching job. You've got a young offensive line, you've got a young quarterback, and you've got as much turnover in that personnel than we've had in 10 years. I thought he did a great job with putting in the Wildcat formation, taking some of the pressure off of Nathan Parker, and putting the ball in Cam Shaw's hands, and keeping the Mineola defense off balance, not knowing what to expect. So I asked him this morning, was that planned? Were you always going to run the Wildcat, as much as you could? He said it was situational, and it started working.
The situation was on the goal line in the first offensive play.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, and so I should have talked about that after the turnover happened. As Mineola was about to go and score, well, then the Eagles are faced with the ball on the 1-yard line.
And a sophomore quarterback coming in for his first varsity action.
Right. You don't want his first varsity snap to be in his own end zone if you can avoid it. So wisely, they didn't even mess around with a handoff to Shaw. They just direct snapped to him and got out of there, got some breathing room. And so I thought Nathan Parker did a fine job. He didn't throw any interceptions. He made some good decisions. And he's got to feel pretty good about that. This helped him ease into it.
And his arm strength was more than adequate. There was a couple of long balls that he threw that didn't get away from him, and they were not just him heaving it up. I mean, he was throwing it. He had the direction on it. And a lot of times as a sophomore, especially your first game out there, you're just wanting to finish the game.
Yeah.
You're not trying to. I mean, basically, you're driving a bus, and you're trying not to make any mistakes.
Yeah.
He was out there. There was a couple of plays. There was one specifically where he was rolling out and was almost directing traffic. And as the first game as a sophomore, and I think it may have been Tootie that either broke off his route and cut back across, but he threw back across the middle, which that's not what he started out intending to do. And for a sophomore first game, that was pretty impressive.
As a former quarterback, you recognize that kind of stuff. And he got hit really hard when he turned it over. And Coach Regal actually said he thought he might not be able to finish. He might be hurt, but he wasn't. He bounced back. And okay, so another question that we had was the offensive and defensive line. One returning starter on the offensive side, and just a lot of youth there. Well, the offensive line and defensive line, they answered the questions on Friday night. Cam Shaw ran for a whole bunch of yards. We'll get to that. They had to be doing something right, and Coach Regal alluded to that they were better on Friday night than they had been in any practice or scrimmage up to that point.
Yeah.
Do you have something, Ethan, you want to say?
Yeah, when I talked to Coach Regal, I asked him who he thought was the biggest impact other than Prox and Shaw in the game, and he said that they absolutely won the game in the trenches, and the offensive line was his number one player of the game, and I couldn't agree more. The holes were there all night.
Oh, yeah, and that's encouraging that you answered kind of that question mark. On the defensive side, too, the Mineola offensive line was thought to be pretty big and physical, and our D-line held their own, kept our linebackers clean so they could run and tackle. It sounds funny to say that we contained Pendergrass when he got 230 yards on 36 carries, but we did contain him just enough
So the first drive, the defensive line looked like they weren't ready.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it was they, Pendergrass got the corner, Pendergrass got the holes, and I was like, oh, this could be a long night. And then it's the front four. I know Lewis Paul Irwin's on one end, and he told me on Sunday, and I can't remember what the other kid's name is that was the other end. They started containing to the middle, and if you can just get it, inside the ends, the linebackers had a chance to get in there and make plays. And that was what, after that first drive, there were a couple of plays that it got out of hand. But for the most part, the defensive line impressed me because they're, I think, Etheridge, not Etheridge.
There's so many new
junior.
players. I don't know their names yet,
Right.
y'all. I'm sorry.
But there were three that were in there from the beginning of the game that either didn't play at all last year or only played a handful of plays.
Oh, yeah.
And after that first drive, they stepped up and held it together, and that was pretty impressive.
Yes.
And then when they forced them to the linebackers stepped up just as much and made those plays. And there's some young guys on that front as well.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
It was really impressive.
You could say that Pendergrass wore down over time eventually.
Wyckoff. Chisholm Wyckoff.
Yes,
He's been there for a while, but other than him, it was all new faces.
It sure was. It sure was. It was a lot of new faces there. The Yellow Jackets put the ball on the turf, I think 4 or 5 times, and we only got one of those, I believe. So they were fortunate that we didn't get more. Let's see, special teams. They did a great job. We recovered a crucial onside kick at the very end there. That was critical. When Mineola kicked the field goal to cut it to 1 score, recovered the onside kick, and of course had a kickoff return for a touchdown. Cam Shaw. I'll give some stats here. Cam Shaw, we've got 24 carries, 216 yards, 3 touchdowns, plus the kickoff return for a touchdown. Passing, Nathan Parker was 5 of 10, 34 yards, no interceptions. Receiving, you had Tootie Prox, 4 catches for 67 yards and a touchdown. So your team totals 315 yards of offense. I've got us down for 2 turnovers. I think that's right. Time of possession was very lopsided. We had it for under 15 minutes, and they had it for around 33 minutes. They had some long sustained drives where we kept Pendergrass in front of us, and they drove it all the way down. And we had some big scores. We had some quick scores. So the time of possession looks a little deceiving, but we were very efficient when we had the ball.
Oh, yes.
And so that's what that is. Before I finish here, Coach Regal this morning mentioned some kids who did a particularly good job. Maybe not some of the guys that you might always hear talked about, but some of these newer faces. Noe Mendieta was everywhere. We called his name about 100 times, it sounded like. Defensive back. He did a fantastic job. We're going to hear a lot from him this year. Abel Hudson, Braden Norrell, Canaan Island all did a great job. On the offensive line, Sebastian Smith, guard, he did a great job. Coach Regal particularly mentioned him. And then Reed Van Orsdale, sophomore, he plays linebacker. He carried the ball some. He did things on special teams. He's like a utility player. He did a little bit of everything.
He was huge.
Yeah, he was huge.
Yeah.
Coach Regal said, if you ask what position that kid plays, he's just a football player. That's all I know. He's just a football player.
And he recovered the onside kick at the end.
That's
as well.
right.
That was
Yeah, special teams play there. So, okay. So moving on, we got Winsboro coming up.
Before you move, let me add
go ahead.
one player.
Go ahead. Yeah.
The only guy that you usually don't talk about unless he makes a mistake, Nathan Goodson.
Oh yeah.
It's
Thank you.
His kicking ability. I mean, I don't know if he can do it every time, but it seems like if he wants to kick it through the end zone, he can. If he wants to kick it to the goal line, he can. In his, from side to side is a lot better this year. The one blocked extra point, and I sent y'all a copy of the video because I videoed it and sent. Pendergrass didn't get touched. I think it was the center and the guard turned their rears towards each other, and he went through untouched. And that wasn't Goodson's fault. But other than that, he played a near perfect game as a kicker. And like I said, nobody ever mentions it until something goes wrong. But he had a good night too.
He's a weapon. He's a weapon on. He's also as the punter. He's really good. And so he'll be missed someday. He's developed into that skinny freshman who could barely even make an extra point to one of the best kickers in the area, I guarantee you.
Yes.
He is truly – he's the hammer. That's why we call him the hammer.
He went from bump and run to now he is the solid hammer.
That's right. He is the hammer. So Winsboro, Coach Regal has some familiarity with this team. They were in Mineola's district last year, of course, and so he's seen this team a lot. Last week, Winsboro beat Paul Pewitt 51-29. Their coach is Josh Finney, and he was the coach at Mount Vernon prior to Art Briles. Went to Winsboro. He's a Winsboro guy, hometown guy, and his son is the quarterback. His son is Kyler Finney, best player on their team. So they have 12 starters coming back from the team last year. They missed the playoffs last year, but they were in a tough district. So that they are, as far as run-pass goes, they're somewhat balanced, but tilted toward the pass, probably 60-40. Here's what's interesting about them is they have an offensive strategy that's a mix of the spread and the wing tee. Those are two opposing things usually. You're usually exclusively one or the other, but they use the same personnel up front, and so you don't know what they're going to do. And you defend those two offenses totally different. So Coach Regal said there's been a lot to prepare for this week. It's complicated, and so they've got to find a way to kind of teach these kids and simplify it down. You're going to see a lot. He said there is multiple as you can imagine anyone being on the offensive side. On defense, he said they blitz from everywhere, and so you've got that. They play man defense behind that. Offensively, they go fast, like from the book of Art Briles. They go fast. The coach's son, he can throw it, but he's a great athlete and he can run it. So a lot to be aware of there. And Coach Regal he emphasized practice has been difficult this week because you've got so much to teach in a short time. So I asked him what he hoped to achieve. Sometimes when you're following up a really emotional win like this, you can let down or whatever the case is. And he said, I just want us to come out and play well. He said, I want us to play as well as we can play. That's the goal, just one week at a time. So it'll be a tough test for the Eagles on Friday night, but broadcast time or kickoff 7:30. Buzz Brothers go on air around 7:10 or whenever Ken tells us to go on air. And
I just want to cut in there for a moment. Mm-hmm. So, I noticed TA keeps pushing it back a little bit further and a little bit further. I want them there at 6:30. We probably won't go.
He wants us stretched and warmed up by 7.
I want y'all ready to play at 7. I want you ready to play at 7.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think I shared this with Ethan earlier in the week, but I was visiting with a couple of gentlemen over the weekend who were at the game in Mineola Friday night, and they've been to several games in the past few years. And one of them made the observation to me. He said, I don't know what it was, but there was something different in the stands Friday night. So far as the enthusiasm of the crowd, everybody seemed to really be into the game.
On the Canton side?
On the Canton side.
Okay. And
he was commenting, he said, I don't want to overreact after one game, but he said, I think Coach Regal is bringing something that Canton hasn't seen in a while.
Amen to that.
I can
just be on the lookout.
On the sidelines, things felt different too than the past couple of years. I don't know how to explain it, but something did feel a little different in the everything.
Here's what's funny.
The kids weren't out of shape. They were able to talk because they weren't breathing too hard.
This morning, Coach Regal said he had 3 kids this weekend contact him about playing football that wanted to start football.
Wow.
Yeah.
People want on the bandwagon.
That's right. There you go.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen, it's time to go to another break, and we want to recognize some more of our sponsors. We want to thank Mill Creek Dental. They're making East Texas smile. Dr. Ann A. Duddle, 903-567-2207, located at 104 Burnett Trail in Canton. We're brought to you by Legacy Ag Credit, financing your legacy, rural land, country homes, operating capital, farms and ranches, livestock and equipment. 903-567-2251. We're brought to you by Taylor Automotive, 27928 Highway 64 in Canton, 903-567-3948. We're brought to you by Wills Point Ford. What matters to you matters to us. 618 Houston Street in Wills Point, 903-873-2511. We're brought to you by Thompson Equipment, 30387 State Highway 64 in Wills Point, 903-865-1616. And we're brought to you by the Zach Pruitt State Farm Insurance Agency at 295 North Maple Avenue in Van, 430-388-2006. And we have an announcement from Engineer Ken.
That's right. And tonight's Huddle Show is brought to you by Art Printing of Texas, 680 West Dallas, number 2 in Canton, 903-567-0303. They are a full-service print and copy shop right here in Canton, serving everyone near and far. We're also brought to you by, what you can see on your screen, the glorious 3D's Pizza. The Cinnabons, the Korean barbecue, the buffalo, the jalapeno parmesan, the regular parmesan, the barbecue french fries, all that good stuff. And we're brought to you by the Joel Elliott Law Firm, where Joel Elliott has given us the place for the counseling that you're all getting on the Van Zandt County News of the sports. And who else are we brought to you by? No, I guess I'm going to turn it back over to the Godfather there.
Okay, we'll get back to you in a moment. I'm David Barber, Van Zandt News sports correspondent, joined by T.A. Hale from the Buzz Brothers, the counselor Joel Elliott. Ethan Adams, our Canton Herald sports correspondent, is here with us tonight, as well as Engineer Ken. Joel, let's turn it over to you, and I'll just give you the floor. Which school you want to talk about?
Let's start with Wills Point. And I haven't watched the game, but I've read the article. They started out playing Pinkston. They were both 0-10 last year. There were 8 total turnovers in the game, and when you read in here, and I'm hoping to be able to talk to Coach Pointer this season, hope things kind of turn around and get a lot better. But the turnovers, at least from the Tigers' point of view, were kind of at some costly times. They had a turnover that ended up turning into points for Pinkston that put them up 13-0. Wills Point, then had a drive that had them on the doorsteps of scoring in the second quarter, and then Pinkston was able to stop them. And then late in the half, Pinkston scored again. They ended up having a 19-0 deficit against Pinkston at halftime, and then Wills Point comes back in the second half, and they start playing a lot better, and they ended up having a touchdown from Jet Fletcher to Tyrus Burnett, which Tyrus is the kid that we talked about all year last year.
Yeah.
Even on a team that's having some difficulty, he still seems to find a way to stand out. He had a 33-yard reception for a touchdown to cut the score to 19-6 with about 6 minutes left in the third quarter. Ended up trading punts back and forth, and then at the end of the game, they had lost 33-14. They had some stats that I'm going to go through here. Burnett was the leading receiver in the contest. He had 4 passes, 59 yards, including that touchdown that I had talked about. Aaron Torres caught 3 passes, 51 yards. Jamarin Jernigan caught 1 for 6 yards, and Tanner Spindle had 1 for 2 yards. Aaron Torres also rushed the ball 7 times for 36 yards, and Noah Rodriguez had 5 carries for 12 yards. And then Tyrus also had another carry instead of just receptions for 11 yards. This week, the Tigers are going to be at home. I think everybody's pretty much coming back home. I'm not sure where Fruitvale is this week, but
They're home.
they're home. So we got everybody playing home in the
Yep.
county. So you can, if you were really aggressive, you might be able to start on one side and hit every game before the night's over with, and get to
Do
the
a
other
tour.
side.
Yeah.
And they're playing Grace Community in Wills Point, and they just came off of a win against Winona, 39-7. And I haven't seen Grace, and I guess it's been in a couple of years, but they're always well disciplined, and apparently they've got a good team back out this year. So
And they have a new head coach, Tim Russell, who was at Harmony, is now at Tyler Grace.
Grace has had some good ones over the years.
now my niece and nephew are really young, but that's the school they go to, so I'm sure I'll become more familiar with them through the years.
Yeah.
You want me to go ahead and move to Grant Saline?
Sure, go ahead.
It's not going to take a long time. So Grand Saline played over in Cooper this week, and Cooper, I believe, was the number 12 school in their division in the state. Cooper lost one game last year, and it was their loss in the playoffs. So, I mean, they're a salty team. They're very talented. Coach Drennan had sent me a text earlier, and it was kind of short and sweet, but he says that they're excited for this coming week, and they want to make sure they can bounce back after the Cooper game. Said that Cooper simply played more physical than Grand Saline did, and hopefully they'll learn from it and be better from it. And that the kids, so far they're working hard, and as long as they can eliminate the mistakes and injuries. Now I don't know if there was a specific injury that affected anything in the Cooper game, but I know at the start of the game I'd sent everybody a message for the Canton broadcast. Grand Saline was up 12-6, and I was getting pretty excited. And after that first Mineola drive, I was about to try to figure out a way. But Grand Saline's games aren't broadcast. They're out of town games aren't broadcast to where you can see them on YouTube or Facebook or anything. But I'm about to have access to where I'm gonna be able to watch all of the games, and then their home games. I'm intending to either go to them or watch them online. So I'll have a little more information about Grand Saline. This week they are at home against Palmer, and Palmer won last week very handily against Venus, 20-63. Not real sure if that.
Yeah.
If that's.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means, but they did it.
Right. Who knows?
And I believe, did Edgewood play Palmer last year? I think
Yes.
were they in the same district? And Palmer, did they win district?
Yes.
Yeah. So Palmer, from what I understand, they're still pretty good this year. It's going to be another good test for Grand Saline, and it's going to be a home game. I expect that there's going to be a lot of excitement there. Cooper's not the closest place in the world to go play, so I don't know. And I don't know if y'all have been to Cooper, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. And I don't know how big the crowd was there, but I would expect that Grand Saline is going to show up better this week with the fans and everything. And my intention is to be there, and hopefully I'll have better news and a more detailed report for the Indians next week.
For what it's worth, Palmer's been good for a lot of years. And in fact, I think Grand Saline's played them for probably about the last 4 or 5 years. Palmer's ranked 51 by Max Preps, and Grand Saline is 50. So I don't know what that means. Maybe they graduated a lot of players, but for what that's worth, go Indians.
That's right.
And all God's people said amen.
That's right.
That's right. And quick word on Fruitvale. Tough night for them last Friday night at home against Oakwood. The 45-point rule came into play, and so the game was over at halftime. Final score was 47-0. Fruitvale just really having a very challenging off-season, and it's continuing into the season with the number of players or lack of that they have on their squad. But, gosh, I hope things will get better for them here real soon.
I do too.
And they've got I can't remember who they're playing this week.
It's Christian Heritage.
Christian Heritage at home.
Yes.
Friday night. So we wish them well. We hope things get on the right track for them here real soon.
That may be I was going to say a manageable matchup, but that may be a better matchup than Oakwood was. Oakwood was strong.
Yes.
So
All
I hope
right.
the Bobcats can get something going.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, the most talked about segment of our program each and every week.
Get your slide rule and your calculator.
That's right. Get your fingers and toes, whatever it takes to count up all of this, all these numbers that are going to be coming at you here shortly. But first of all, we want to thank our sponsors, including the Sarah Clayton State Farm Agency at 1164 South Buffalo Street in Canton. We're brought to you by UT Health East Texas Urgent Care, 301 East State Highway 243 in Canton. We're brought to you by Plumbing by Roger at 903-833-5667, serving all of Van Zandt County and all of East Texas. We're brought to you by Wills Point Chevrolet, Chevy Drives, Texas, 903-873-2561, located at 660 Houston Street in Wills Point. And we're brought to you by Van Zandt Farm and Ranch at 118 East Main Street in Van, Texas at 903-963-3651. They have feed for horses, dogs, cattle, chicken, wild bird, pig, fish. They also have gardening items. seeds and fertilizers, organic feeds available. And we are back on the Huddle Show, and I'm David Barber, Van Zant News sports correspondent, T.A. Hale from the Buzz Brothers, the counselor Joel Elliott, engineer Ken, Ethan Adams, our Canton Herald sports correspondent, is here. One more item of business I need to take care of before we get into our pick segment. Joel, if you'll hold up the special football and volleyball section. Just came out in the Van Zant News in the August 28th issue. I've got a copy for you, T.A. And just want to say great job by David Capitan, our sports editor at the Van Zant News, and all of our staff. And we're very proud of this. And anything you want to know about Van Zant County football and volleyball is right in there.
All right there.
Right there.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. And now it's time for the moment that we've all been waiting for tonight is our pick segment. T.A., I think you have a wrap-up of what happened on week one as we move into week two. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, so we'll start with week one results. If you're scoring this at home, the Godfather, David, 4-2, leading the pack. Nice job, David.
Thank you.
4-2 on his picks. The counselor, Joel Elliott, 3-4, not bad. Followed by Ethan, Easy E, I call him, 2-5, and bringing up the rear is TA, 1-5. So somebody had to be last, right? Yeah. Ken's laughing at me over there.
Sorry about that.
All right, just you wait. Now, that's your week one results. Let's get on to week two and our picks. Believe it or not, Oofy's Sportsbook has had a change of direction in one of his sub businesses. We got Oofy's Sportsbook and Animal Relocation Services. He's fully licensed in some states, mostly the states that don't require a license. And he specializes, of course, in pests such as your typical stuff like skunks, raccoons,
The opossum.
the opossum.
Radio engineers.
But for a premium, yeah. But the thing about him, he's expanded a little bit. For a premium, he can relocate unruly pets or even kids that are badly behaved. He can relocate them, and that's what I needed when I was raising my kids. I wish he'd had this business there. So, without further ado, we'll start with the Godfather, game one, Van versus Chapel Hill. Van's at home, and they are -3, and the total is 56 versus Chapel Hill.
Well, I'm going to take. Let's see. What did you say the plus or minus was?
-3.
-3. Okay. I'm going to take the Vandals and over.
Okay. Vandals.
I really see this as a shootout.
Okay. All right. Joel.
I'll go with Van in the over.
Okay.
And that's me trying to be happy. I mean, I'm not a fan of Chapel Hill or anything.
Okay. And I'm loyal to our Van Zant County teams. I want to make that very clear. In this case, I'm going to take Chapel Hill and the over. Okay. All right, Ethan.
Yeah. Give me Chapel Hill, and I'll take the under.
Okay. All right. He's departing from the rest there. All right. That's game one. Game two, Wills Point hosting Grace Community. Grace Community -20, and your total is 44. David.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take Tyler Grace in this game and over.
Grace and over. Okay.
What were the numbers again?
They were -20 in favor of Grace, and the total is 44.
I'm not trying to cheat off your paper, David, but I agree with you.
All right. Grace over. Okay. I also took Grace in the over. Ethan?
Yeah, I'm going to do the same.
Okay. All right. We'll move right on to game three. Game three is your Grand Saline Indians versus Palmer, hosting Palmer. This is interesting. This might be a sucker line. Palmer -10 at Grand Saline. Okay. Total's 49.
Going for the upset, Grant's Lean and under.
Gotcha. Okay. Joel?
Grant's leaning over.
Okay. And I took Grant's Lean under. Ethan?
I want the over, and I like Palmer to cover.
Okay. Palmer and the over. See, Ethan is hoping to get ahead on those picks there. He's going to beat all
it was
of
a
us.
rough week. I'm trying to make up some ground.
Yeah, well, I hear you.
You could be down there with TA in no time.
Thanks for bringing that up, Ken.
My bad. I thought the mic was off.
Yeah. Okay. Now, game number 4 here. The Bulldogs hosting, it's their home opener against the Emory Reigns Wildcats rivalry game. And Edgewood -7. Total is 48. David.
I'm going to go Edgewood and under.
Okay. Edgewood under. Joel?
Bear with me. I'm going Edgewood over.
Okay. I took Edgewood over.
I think Edgewood covers, and I want over.
Okay. Edgewood and over.
That over under is going to be that's a good line. I mean that's right where it should be.
Yeah, the over-under is. Yeah, the line is maybe Palmer shouldn't be getting that much in Edgewood. I'm sorry.
Reigns.
I'm sorry. Reigns shouldn't be getting that much. Okay. Let's see. Canton and Winsboro. Okay. Canton hosting Winsboro. The Winsboro Raiders.
Red Raiders.
Red Raiders.
And let me tell you, they're a little sensitive about that in
Ooh.
Winsboro because my wife has family up there.
Okay.
And we were at a family reunion a couple of years ago, and I said Raiders, and they looked at me, and somebody made the comment, says, we're not in Oakland.
They said, "Excuse me, sir."
Yes, we're not in Oakland.
Well,
We're the Red Raiders.
Well, I'll keep that in mind. That's
Mhm.
okay. I didn't know what their mascot was. So the Red
They're
Raiders.
just like Texas Tech.
Okay. So the Winsboro Red Raiders. Okay, Canton at home, -1.5. Total 65.
Yeah, Canton's going to win the game, but I'm going to go under.
Okay. Canton under. Joel.
I agree. Canton under.
Okay. I took Canton under. Ethan.
I want to do it, but I'll take the under and give me Canton.
So everybody picked Canton the under there. All right. Bets are down, and so we will see how it all shakes out here, guys. No. We got one more here. There's one more here. You got your Fruitville Bobcats hosting Christian Heritage. I hope I'm not wrong about this. I don't know if they played last year or the year before. It seemed like they played them close in the last couple of years. I got Fruitville at home -2, and the total is 79. I looked at Christian Heritage who they played in game 1, and they think they got beat pretty handily. Anyway, that's the information.
You know, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to take Fruitvale to win, and I think it's going to be under.
Okay.
I'm going to start going in front of David. Everybody's going to think I'm cheating. I agree.
I was going to say something about that, but not now since you brought it up.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Christian Heritage.
I believe you made a comment earlier, TA,
Under.
about really liking your Van Zandt County schools and stuff. And
Well, that was more of a disclaimer,
You hurt
gotcha.
Ken's feelings.
Yeah.
That's right. You already heard.
and Wade Facklin's feelings.
That's right. I had a feeling. Not anymore. Thank you very much.
You said the line's at 79 right now?
Yes, 79.
And if the game isn't completed, then the
Interesting.
under- 'cause
Yes.
last
That's
week,
something to think about.
I
That's
think that
interesting.
the over would have hit if the game was completed.
Yeah.
I'm going to go under. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
I want Christian Heritage.
Christian Heritage under. Okay. You and I need to catch up, Ethan. That's for sure. Okay, now that completes it, and so those are our Van Zandt County games, and our picks are in, and we wish every one of those teams the very, very best.
Let's go 6-0 this week.
Have we ever had a 6-0?
I don't recall it.
Me neither, but we're due.
Yep,
so
we're
let's
due.
go.
We're due.
Let's do it.
Give us your broadcast time again Friday night, according to the engineer.
7:10 sharp, ankles taped, warmed up and ready to play. Kickoff 7:30.
Okay. And our sister station, KMU, is going to be carrying the game between Big Sandy and Quitman Friday night, and then they will have Friday Night Live following the game, and you'll be hearing some of us.
That's right.
During that Friday Night Live program, so tune in to 99.9 FM Friday
That's right.
night after the game.
I was a bad fan last Friday night. Who won the Spirit Stick?
I do not know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I turned it off about midnight.
I think it was Grant Saline. I
Okay.
think Grant Saline edged out Canton.
I wish somebody knew, but
Yeah, I don't know.
as
We'll
you've
report
all-
on that.
As you've all aged, other than Ethan, everybody else is probably going to be asleep pretty much by the time the end of the show rolls
I
around.
was.
I could barely stay up to call in.
Ethan, it's your youth that we're going to be relying on
Okay.
this season to
I'll-
determine who wins the Spirit Stick
I'll
each
remember
week.
that
Yeah.
this week, yes.
All right, Engineer Ken, do we have any more business that needs to come before us?
Just a couple of little announcements and a couple of little announcements. Well, they're not little; they're huge. I mean, 3D's Pizza. Thank you so much for what you brought. The gracious grub was really awesome. The guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
I enjoyed it
Yes.
a little too much. Let's see. We have Gary's Car Wash and the Registry, also big sponsors of Canton High School sports and KWJB's broadcast for that. And then we have who else do we have? Art Printing of Texas, or Art Printing of. Hold on. Now I'm going to look for the right thing.
That's
here.
okay. That's okay.
Oh, there it is. Art Printing of Texas. I was right. 680 West Dallas, number 2, in Canton, 903-567-0303. Thank you for supporting the Huddle.
They actually made this lettering
made
on
yours?
that cup right
That
there.
one, hold on, what is that?
That's-
Does that say Allstate? TA? Speaking of which, that's important.
That's right. The TA Hill Agency.
It's important because next week we will be over where we can be insured that you will hear
Very good.
the Huddle show at the TA Hill office.
Nice transition there.
Yes.
Bam.
That was clever.
Yes, it was.
It's a rare occasion.
I have been notified by the roving reporter, Scott Myers, that Grant Saline won the Spirit Stick.
Okay. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. We can count on his youth as well.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Well,
Although
I
his,
think he's
his
there.
youth is running about as well as mine. But any other business, sir?
That's it. Sign us out, David.
All right. Well, for T.A. Hale, Joel Elliott, Ethan Adams, Engineer Ken, I'm David Barber. Thank you for listening. And as always, we like to close out by saying that you have been listening to the Huddle Show on the B.
All right, now I'm going to turn off the evidence on. Oh, I got to turn it off first.